and crazy people can be, slightly avoided by really, really solid, thorough documentation. Oh man, there was like a client who posted in our group a couple of months ago. They're like, I have this, I think it was like, I have this GC, no offense. He owes me like a ton of money. He owes me like $15,000, and he's not like picking up the phone or anything like that. And we're just like messaging. I'm like, can you share your contract here? It's like, oh, we didn't have a contract. Like, well, then what? You have nothing.
When your leads are low and your sales are slow, who you gonna call? Brushbuster.
What's up, everyone? Mike Rickman here, founder of Paintergrowth.com. You're listening to Brushbusters on the Paintergrowth podcast. And I'm here with Chris Wolf, the man who needs no introduction, but is going to get an introduction anyway. So Chris is our newest program director for our advanced program. This is for our clients typically doing $1 million per year or more. And Chris has already been on one or two episodes of Brushbusters. And then once you hear him talk, you realize why I picked him for this position. But Chris, what's up, man?
Dude, life is crazy. I'm so stoked to get started. I appreciate you waiting to start me full time until I could do my Burning Man trip. That was awesome. You're awesome.
Yeah, Chris just got back from Burning Man, like the real one in the Nevada desert. Not only did he just get back from Burning Man, but he proposed to his wife at Burning Man, got married at Burning Man, went back again to Burning Man. What keeps bringing you to Burning Man?
I finally figured it out, actually. I'm really glad you asked me that question. So over 11 years, I've been to 5 burns, and I finally figured out what Burning Man is. So you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Burning Man is a sacred celebration of being alive.
And what attracts you to that?
I mean, I think all humans need holidays to celebrate, right? But what attracts me to it more than just like, oh, there's dancing and fun and this and that, it's sacred. It's a sacred celebration. There's meaning, there's spirituality, there's intensity, there's realness, there's authenticity. Plus, I don't know how much you want to get into it, but they have these 10 principles that make the rules completely different from real life. Like,
what are they?
So one of them is,
I'm not sure. I'm not familiar with them.
So one of them is decommodification, which means zero money. There's no money. You have 70,000 people building a city in the desert with art and like bustling things and all this stuff, but there's zero money. That's one. Radical self-expression is one. Radical self-reliance is another. Like you're in the middle of the desert, right? You're like, you go to the edge of the world, you drive hours and hours and hours to get to the edge of the world, and then you turn off the road and drive into the desert. Like you are way out there. And so you have to like cover yourself all the way, right? That's one of the things I love as like an entrepreneur is that idea of radical self-reliance. I don't need anybody for anything. I have my finances covered. I have my mental covered. I have my physical covered. I have my spiritual covered. I am covered. Even if a dust storm hits and we got to bunker down for 12 hours, I'm good. You know, it's just like a different level of independence and a confidence that comes from like experiencing that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how many more I'm going to go to. I got to take my kids one day, but yeah, anyone who hasn't gone, definitely go. It's an experience. It's a ride, especially if you're an entrepreneur. Like just put in your schedule. There's not a lot of bookings happening.
You drive from Washington.
So it's 12 hours if you could do it straight, but it really ends up being like 16 or 17 with stops.
Okay. That's not too bad.
No. Totally manageable.
Yeah. And for people listening, like we do have a lot of Canadian coaches, but we got a Yankee now.
Hey, got to represent. Does that make me a DEI hire?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we just needed you to check the box.
Yeah. Now we have a token American.
Yeah, exactly. But that's awesome, man. I'm stoked you did that. Even more stoked that you're here with us. Now, before we kind of get into some letters today, what gives you the right? No, what makes you qualified to be here? I asked Jesse this earlier. I asked Rich this earlier. What makes you qualified to be here? Let's just talk about a little qualification.
Ooh, I love it. What makes me qualified?
Can I ask you? So, like, anything that you say is not self-aggrandizing.
Fair. I've helped hundreds of entrepreneurs increase every aspect of their business, and including wealth and happiness, over 15, 16 years now in my career. This is literally what I've done since I was 19 years old. I've painted houses. I've worked with people painting houses. I've coached people painting. I've coached the coaches of the people who are painting houses. I have run multiple $1 million businesses, moved on from this one to that one. I've coached people that are just doing insane numbers. This is what I do, man.
And now you have a construction business.
Yeah. I have, it's a GC business. Don't be mad. I do painting, but I also do other things. Yeah. I pretty much do everything in the residential construction space, but painting, well, I just got over 2 million this year in my own personal sales, in addition to everything else. But painting will always have a special place in my heart, right? It was my gateway drug into construction. And I think it's like, in a lot of ways, it's the quintessential construction business. Like, if you could make like a stereotype, right, of like a perfect like residential construction business, it would be a painting business. And I'm really grateful too. I think if you ask me what makes me qualified, not only have I done it and seen it and worked and done all the things, right, but what really makes me qualified is I have a deep desire to help the next guys now, because I know how much it helps me.
I think on that note, like the fact that you have a multiple 7-figure GC business, yet you've been able to systemize it in a way to barely take any of your time, so you can come on with us and do cool stuff. Like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Well, and the cool thing is, the systems are all the same, right? That's what, like, anyone who's just getting into Paintergrowth or into like personal development, like the systems are there to help you. And once you have them, you can apply them like in your personal life, like across your business. Yeah, we'll get more into it. I don't want to.
Well, that's all good. We can talk forever. So what do you think? I mean, before we jump into questions from listeners, what would you say are like the first 3 like non-negotiables that a business owner needs to do before even ever thinking that they can get to $1 million? Like, what are like, if you could distill the 1, 2, and 3 most important habits or systems or skills that the entrepreneur needs in order to ever cross that barrier, like you will never cross a barrier without these 3 things.
Yeah. So you need a schedule and schedule discipline, like priority management, schedule discipline. Like you have to be in control of your week. You will never, ever grow your business if you can't control your week. How are you going to control $1 million business if you can't control 7 days? Stuff comes up, right? But you got to have a system, a plan, right? Like for me, Mondays, it's typically the best day to do like a one-on-one with your coach. Monday or Tuesday, you got your production stuff all morning. You got your sales stuff all afternoon. Your Saturday, depending on what time of year it is, you do sales, you don't. Sunday's off. Like, that's my rhythm. That's the rhythm I really recommend to most business owners. But you, especially in the painting space, but you have to own it. You have to be in control of it. And you have to be in control of it enough to say stuff like, I'm going to take a week off, and that's going to come up in 8 weeks. And I'm going to put that in there, and I'm going to go handle all my business before then. And I'm going to take that week off, and I'll handle my business when I get back. If that sounds daunting to you or impossible to you, you're not ready to go up to the next level.
I heard a really great quote this morning, and it was, if you never learn to manage your time, you'll never learn to manage your money.
Well, that's what we do as business owners, right? There's 3 things we manage: people, time, and money. People, time, and money. And managing them is all very similar, except time and money don't really have emotions. They're cold, hard, what's, where people are a little squishier, they have emotions. But people, time, and money.
Time and money don't care about your feelings.
Right. They don't. They really don't.
Oh, you broke? Well, I don't care.
That sucks. And so like a subset of that is like self-care. Like I just took a week off. I went to Burning Man. 2 weeks before that, I had a week-long East Coast trip for a wedding. That's self-care time. That's vacation time. I scheduled that. I made it happen. On like the day-to-day, like Mike, I know you and I connect about this. We work out a lot. I think you run more than I do. I'm more of a lifter than a runner. But either way, like whatever your mediums are, like working out or yoga or meditation, like that also has to be in your schedule. If you're like, I don't have time to work out, then you don't have time to run $1 million business. Because every $1 million business owner I know has time to do the things they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
You make the time because you're in control of your schedule.
Yep.
So that's number one, like foundationally. Number two, you have to have a way that works for you to interact with your numbers. You know, like you and I, Mike, we're like super tight on the numbers. We run our own stuff. I know a lot of guys that like pay an accountant or a bookkeeper to keep their stuff going. Whatever it is, whatever your system for your money is, right? So we're talking people, time, and money. So we talked about time, money, right? Like you have to know your numbers. You have to have a goal for the year that's based on how much money you want to make that year. And then you need to take your goal for the year and break it down into what you're doing ongoing, right? So that you know what you're actually supposed to do every week. Like if I know I need to do 10 estimates a week and I need to book 10 grand a week or 20 grand a week or 30 grand a week, whatever the number is. And I know, and like, let's say my goal is 20 grand this week and I came in at 14, then I know I'm behind. I know that next week I need to catch up, right? So you need to have a real goal that matters to you, that's a specific number, and then break that number up into how you're going to get to there over the course of the year and track
awareness of where you are. That's
right.
What's missing for so many people is just like, you ask them, hey, what were your numbers last year? And they just look at you in a blank stare. Oh, you know what? I got my tax return back and on that, it told me my revenue. I'm like, what? No.
You should know your revenue number every day, every week. Every time I book a job, I'm like, oh yeah, just added 20 G's. What?
Add it to the pile.
Yeah, it was $1,080,000 and now it's 1.1 million. And you're not going to know exactly. Once the numbers get big, you're not going to know to the one, but you should know where you're at. And when you cross 100,000, 200,000, 300,000, 400,000, 800, 900, a million, right? Those numbers, you should know when you cross those numbers and you should feel fucking good about it.
Yeah. It's funny. I see messages all the time in our internal or our client group or Slack group. One client actually, she was going through her numbers with Jesse and she posted in the group. She's like, I just went through my numbers with Jesse and I just found out that we've just doubled our last year production and it's August. And
she didn't know.
She didn't know until Jesse took her through the exercise. And now I bet you she's going to have a lot better awareness about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Ideally week to week, especially like if you're a business owner with people that report to you. Yeah, you should know where your numbers are every week. I track mine for my construction business every week.
Yep. If not weekly, monthly at the very minimum.
If you want, if you're running a couple hundred G's and it's like pretty low stakes, sure. But if you're trying to be $1 million plus, right? Like you said, what are the top 3 things to be $1 million plus?
Yep.
It's got to be weekly. It's got to be weekly. Unless you're on vacation. That doesn't count.
All right. What's number 3?
Well, I'll just go with what I was saying then. I've said the 3 most important things we manage are people, time, and money. So get good at managing people. Most people aren't. And the first step to getting good at managing people is realizing that off the bat, you're probably not good at it. And you don't even know what your blind spots are. And that's okay. But it's going to take some maturity and some introspection and some work for you to figure out where you're strong as a leader, where you're weak as a leader, and then practice and get better at the things you're weak at. Like for instance, for me, when I first got into like owning my own business, I was just a hard ass. I was like drilling on people, they'd be like, oh, my sister died. I'd be like, oh, that's really terrible. When are you getting back to work? I mean, not like that dramatic, right? But like in retrospect, that's what it feels like. Like my emotional intelligence was just like non-existent. I was just so results focused. I never took the time to like really connect. And, I was technically very good. And so I could grind results out of my people, but we weren't connected, right? They didn't feel like I was their leader. And then, there's a whole bunch of negative stuff that comes after that. So, if you want to run $1 million plus business, you're not going to do it by yourself. You're going to have crews. You might have some salespeople. You might even have a runner, plus all the sales themselves and all the customer. You're going to have to be better at dealing with people. And, you may know what your blind spots are. You may know some of them, whatever it is, start working on those. Because, people, time, and money.
Yeah.
You got to manage all three.
Read a book, get some feedback, buy some coaching.
Ask your mom. She'll tell you. She's known you your whole life.
Ask your significant other. I think you get better. You get more honest feedback there.
No, I mean, triangulate. Ask your best buddy, right? Ask people. Yeah. Ask people that aren't in your business first.
Oh man, so many people are scared to look in the mirror though.
Well, so many people are scared of success then.
Yeah. I mean, have you ever what it's like to listen to a sales call that you've done?
Oh, dude.
It's so awkward.
I'm instantly cringing.
But it's the number one best thing that you could do to improve your sales is just to listen to yourself do a sale.
And short of that, bring someone along to tag along, show someone that you try, bring your significant other onto an appointment.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And your puppy. Should you bring your brand new puppy too?
That'll soften them up.
Cool. Shall we?
Yeah, I'm ready. I got loaded this time. I'm prepared.
All right. So why don't you start us off with this this first one about difficult clients?
Oh man, this is great. I love this. Dear Brushbusters, I've had a few clients recently who've been really, really difficult, changing their minds constantly, demanding extras, arguing over every little thing. I want to keep them happy, but I don't want to give away too much or lose my sanity. So how do you guys manage these kind of clients without letting them take control? Best, Daniel.
Man, starting us out with a softball.
I know, right?
Yeah, I mean, the easiest way to do this is just an inclusions list and an exclusions list, and just have that in your contract. If you're not presenting with a professional proposal, either through your CRM or just really professionally written up on a Word document or something.
Printed. Mobile printer, dude. It's $100 on Amazon.
Yeah, mobile printer or iPad.
Yeah.
Right. Either of them. I mean, I guess iPad's a little more, but
I wouldn't handwrite anything these days.
No, nothing should be handwritten. But I actually have, happy to share this on the podcast. If anyone's listening and wants a copy of it, I have a template for a proposal that you can have. I'll just put in the description. You don't need to opt in or give me your email address or anything. Just click on it. You can make a copy of it. And you can use that. It'll have your inclusions, your exclusions, your scope of work, what's, your pricing, your add-ons, your change orders, all of that, signatures, color sign off, all that in one spot. You can have it. It's yours. You're welcome.
Yeah. It's so simple. Everything in writing, even the colors, right? Everything in writing for every single customer, no exceptions. Because it's only 1 in 100 that you need it. But when you don't have it for the 1 in 100, you're ooh. So I think also what he was asking too is how do you deal with their, let's say you did have it all in writing. Everything's perfectly laid out, 100% clear, inarguable, signatures, the whole thing. And then the client is still really frustrated and upset. How would you handle that? They're mostly frustrated with themselves, but they're taking it out on you.
Yeah.
It costs them money now.
Now, I'll caveat this by saying this will probably work with the 99%, right? There is the 1%. You just got crazy people, right? And sometimes you got crazy people and you got to deal with that. And crazy people can be, slightly avoided by really, really solid, thorough documentation. Oh man, I was a client who posted in our group a couple of months ago. They're I have this, I think it was I have this GC, no offense. He owes me a ton of money. He owes me $15,000 and he's not picking up the phone or anything like that. And we're just messaging. I'm can you share your contract here? It's oh, we didn't have a contract. Well, then what? You have nothing. It's we have some text messages. Okay, we'll share those text messages. in lieu of a contract, everything that is in writing, email, text messages, in a court of law, all of that will be submissible. So ideally, you have a contract, but then any single type of written communication is submissible as evidence in court. So you can bring those types of things to your small claims court if you ever get to that path. So make sure if you are having any conversations around money or expectations with upset customers, either record the calls or get them in writing.
Yep, 100%. But I think for me, when they are upset, don't fight fire with fire, right? Okay, let's say you find yourself either way, whether you have paperwork or not, whether you're like sound legally or you're like a little dubious, you might take a hit financially. Either way, right? Like, stay calm, stay factual, and then look forward on what we can do now. What can we do now? Well, if you want to change it to this, it would be this much. Yeah. Oh, that's too much. Okay. Well, maybe then give them a different option. Oh, you don't want to, you don't want to do a second coat on the body. So why don't we do a second coat on the trim and change the trim coat? I mean, I don't know. That's not a great example, but the point is like forward thinking. What can we do? Here's where we're at. Stay calm. What can we do? Here's what I can do for you. I want to help you. You're my customer. Here's what I can do.
Yeah. I mean, always accepting responsibility or fault, right? If a customer's upset, it's like, oh, you know what, this miscommunication, all my fault, blah, blah. However, there's this funny trick that I heard. Actually, I think it was a Hormozy thing, where if you have someone comes in and they come running at you all upset, it's like, hey, your painters, and say it's something like mine, your painters got drips all over the baseboards. When you say fight fire with fire, like one of the things is like, so if they're right here, they're at a 7, you come at them with a 10, and you like, because there can only be one angry person in an argument. So they come at a 7, you come in, they did what? Oh my God, who was it? Tell me the name. When did it happen? Where's your pictures? I'm going to fire this person. They're going to wish they never. And like, they're going to go, whoa. Like, it's not that bad. It's just some drips.
That's hilarious.
So I've never done that, but I feel like, in terms of fighting fire with fire, it kind of is like fighting fire with fire.
See, that's almost like a sleight of hand, right? That's like a distraction.
Yeah.
Because you're like on their side. You're like, oh, you're mad? I'm mad too, bro. This is nuts.
Yeah.
It's not, I wouldn't say that's fighting. That's almost like you're like you're taking it too far. So then they're like, whoa, bro. Whoa.
Yeah. But I think the main thing is just like calmness, be cool, accept responsibility. If it was something that went wrong, or even if it wasn't, just like try to be there, try to come to amicable solution. But prevention is way
writing,
better,
right? Like, oh, I'm really sorry that wasn't totally clear.
I'm really sorry that you didn't read the contract.
Right. Don't ever make it like explicitly their fault. Like, I'm really sorry, you're a dumbass. Like, you can't say that, but you're like, I'm really sorry it wasn't clear. It is right here. I thought we covered it. Right. Like,
instead of a little tip, instead of ever saying I assumed, replace that with my understanding was.
See, yeah, that kind of language.
Yeah. It's like, it was my understanding that was out of scope. It's like, instead of saying I assumed that was out of scope, it's like, no, it was my understanding. It's just like the exact same thing, but like, what happens when you assume.
Right. Yep. Yeah. So it's all in like how you're approaching it, your context, etc. Like, they're going to be mad either way. So it's not really worth getting upset yourself or taking it on, because it's actually not your stuff. It's their stuff. They're just mad because they screwed up.
Yeah.
Or they're mad about something else. Have you ever had that? Where it's like customers like going through a divorce or like some other crazy stressful thing at work or whatever, and they're just like pissed off and want to take it out on you. And it's like, dude, I'm just the painter. What's the thing? I'm just trying to get this project done for you.
I just put paint on things.
Great. I didn't have any control over your promotion or lack thereof. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Anyway, I think we're having too much fun on that one. Hey, Brush Busters. I feel like we're wasting too much time on job sites with setup, cleanup, and other tasks that slow us down. What are some practical steps that I can take to speed things up without sacrificing quality? Eric. Love it. You want to start?
Well, first thing is, how many painters do you have on site? Because if you're spraying and back rolling, I'm a fierce proponent of 2-man teams. Either 2 or 4, but never 3. Because 4 can be 2 2-man teams. right? So that's part of it, is like, how are you organizing your crews? How many people are on site? Like I don't know, a standard house, I would usually do that with 2 guys most of the time. So sometimes I see clients talking like, oh, I had 5 guys. I'm like, you had 5 guys for a 1-story house, you know? So that's my first question, right?
I mean,
It's like,
I think we don't have like a hard and fast rule or formula for this, but there should be a formula for like revenue size and hours versus number of painters. Because like you're talking about a $20,000 project, like yeah, you should have 5 or 6 painters on that.
6, 3 teams of 2.
Yeah, but what's the formula? Do you have a
I mean, I don't have a formula. I'd say like a regular sized house, a 2-person crew should be able to get done in a week or less. So if you have a double sized house, then it depends on your average job size. So like it's gonna be different in every market, how many dollars they produce per hour. But typically,
I mean, we go on like an average, like the average right now is about $85 an hour. Nationwide, a little bit below that, but let's say it's $85 an hour. So if you have a $20,000 job divided by 85, that's 235 man hours. That's 5.8 man weeks. So let's say 6 weeks for one painter. So if you had 6 painters, it would take 1 week.
Ideally, yes, if you kept them efficient as 3 groups of 2.
Yeah.
If you're spraying, if you're doing stuff by hand, which I hope you're not doing a project that big by hand.
Well, I mean, depends on the project, right? If it's like an interior commercial repaint, like you're not spraying that.
Sure. Also, it depends on, I mean, yeah, I hesitate to put more than 4, even on a big job. I would just say the job's going to take longer unless there's some time pressure. So that's one thing.
It comes down to job site management and the plan. And so we use like a go sheet or a project plan where we're breaking down the hours of the project into daily goals for each painter. And your production manager should be doing this, or you, if you don't have a production manager. But like if you have a 100-hour job, you should not just like, actually, first of all, if you're just quoting by square footage and you don't know how many hours your job is taking, you should shift into an hourly based quoting method. So you actually do know.
Yep.
That's number one. But then like on the project plan, it's like, okay, so you guys want to beat budget by 20%. So let's try to get 10 hours production each day per painter. So on the project plan, so painter number 1, you're going to do the bedroom, the trim, and the ceiling in the second room. That's 10 hours. Painter number 2, you're going to do the kitchen, the bathroom, and the baseboards and living room, or whatever makes sense for 10 hours. And you just break that down into like daily outcomes. And then as long as they get that amount of production done every single day, then they're ahead of budget. And that's even more important on large jobs.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of the problem here is like he's talking about the in-between times, right? Like setup, cleanup, other tasks. So what you're talking about is, the actual workflow, and it helps to keep people focused and organized on that, right? But I would also just try to make sure you're planning your setup and cleanup time appropriately, right? Like if you're try not to switch colors. If you're doing interior, exterior is a little bit easier, right? But or on the exterior, it's simple. If you're doing prep, just work on prep until prep's done. Like, don't be doing prep and then spraying a little and then doing some trim and then going back to some more prep. Like, do the whole task all the way before you clean that up. Hopefully, people are doing that. But when I hear like setup, cleanup, in between times, this and that, it's like, what's your total workflow here? Are you making sure that all of the prep that you can do is done, and then you clean that up? So there should be one cleanup, right, at the end of the day. All the prep gets cleaned up, right, or something like that. So that's part of it too.
I got one. This is a big one when I was training my painters. Is the goal was maximal time on walls. So tools on walls. How quickly from when you get to the job site can you have tools on walls? You're only making money when your tools are on the wall. You're not making money when you're changing colors. You're not making money when you're cleaning brushes, whatever. Tools on walls. So not only tools on the walls, but maximizing your time at your crew kit and maximizing your time at ladder placements. So thinking through the tasks that you're about to do while you're at their crew kit. Okay, do I have my sanding sponge? Do I have my caulking gun? Do I have my, the right ladder? Do I have like my tool belt? Do I have everything that I need in order to work for the next hour or two? Or am I going to have to come back here and waste time? And then when I set my ladder up specifically for an exterior, like, is my ladder placement in the right spot where I can reach maximally left, maximally right, get the most done in one time, and then move the ladder placement like 6 feet, and then maximally left, instead of like 2-foot moves, going up, doing a little bit, going down, moving it, going up, doing a little bit, going down. It's like, are you maximizing your time in the crew kit, up the ladder, down the ladder, and with ladder placements?
Absolutely. So those are all technical, but I think too, I want to connect back to something you said at the beginning of this is like having a clear plan on how to beat the budget. Because in my experience, most painters and laborers that understand beating the budget and that they're going to get bonus if they beat the budget are going to be more excited to be more efficient on those in-between times. And the painters that don't understand it as well or aren't as clear on it aren't going to be as incentivized. So they're kind of lollygagging around, or who cares if I go back and forth. Once they really, truly understand the concept of beating a budget, they're only going to want to go to the crew kit once and grab all the stuff. They're going to be pissed off if they're going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, right?
Yeah.
So make sure they understand that, and then, make sure they have everything they need. Tool belt, do they have the right tool belt? This is so stupid. I saw it on a job site once. These poor painters were going back and forth, and I was like, what? Why? And they're like, oh, well, our tool belts are too small. I was like, I'm sorry, I'm going to Home Depot right now. I'll be right. It wasn't my job site, luckily, but I was like, we'll be right back. Like,
Yeah.
Anyways,
Do you have the right tools for the job? Right? Are you working a wall with a dull scraper?
yeah. Do you have the scraper and the caulk and the masking gun and extra masking tape and a rag and your 5-in-1? Like, do you have all those things when you're starting prep on the wall? Yeah, absolutely.
You know what? That just reminded me is like back to the idea of like business systems, and a really simple system that you can implement is have a little checklist in your crew kit for the different tasks you're going to be doing. All right, you're going to be doing interior prep. Well, here's a list of tools that you're going to need. And then the painter picks up the list, looks at their list of tools, picks those lists of tools out of the van or out of their kit, shoves them in their work belt, and gets to work. It's not like, oh, dang, I forgot the tape, or hey, I forgot the screwdriver. I got to go down 2 flights of stairs and out to the truck. Like, it's just like, oh, I got it because I read the list.
Yep. And, you would hope like eventually the painters become so experienced with it that it becomes second nature. They don't actually need it. But if
You know who still uses lists? Do you know who still uses lists? Pilots.
Yeah.
Commercial pilots. They have thousands and thousands and thousands of hours. You know what they still do?
Every
Use
surgery.
lists. Doctors use lists. Hey, did I remember to get the sponge out of my patient before I sew him back up? Like, obviously, we're working with a lot lower risk, right? But still, like, no one's too good for a list, a checklist.
Yeah, when I hear about like owners struggling with like time discipline on job sites, to be frank, Eric, and whoever else is dealing with this, I do have a question of like, how much does the owner care? How much is the owner or the production manager like really leading these painters the right way?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think you're too good for lists, or I got it, right? Or are you like humble enough to really like be doing everything you can to put your painters in position to be successful?
Yeah. Let's see. Practical steps, speed things up without sacrificing quality. I mean, if you can make it to a piece rate system where your painters are responsible for the walkthrough or walk around with the client, and you implement a couple of those simple tasks, I think that should probably speed you up.
Yeah, I mean, I think everything we've talked about really goes towards speeding things up, but incentives too, right? Like whatever it is, piece rates, really nice. You can do other stuff too, right? Hey guys, if you get all the prep done today, I'll buy you pizza tomorrow. Can't do that all the time, right? But here and there, incentives. People like incentives. You like incentives. I like incentives. People like incentives.
You say you can't do that all the time, but you really can. If you can make the economics work, it's like, okay, guys.
I mean, if they're balling, if they're busting their butts, yeah.
That's what I mean. If you set a goal for them, it's like, all right, there's 2 of you. If you guys finish 24 hours of production today, I'm buying some pizza tomorrow. You can do that every day.
For you as a business owner, that the math checks out probably. Realistically,
yeah,
you're right.
Probably.
if they're consistently performing, right? Yeah. I think that's one of the big issues. Is we look at like underperforming painters, right? And it's like, well, is it the painter who's underperforming, or is it the leader who's underperforming, right? And then when the painters start to overperform, then the leader's like, oh well, must be because I'm so great. It's like, well, actually, it's because the guys are doing really good now, or the girls, whatever. Let's make sure we reward them. So, I guess you talked me. I don't usually let you change my mind, Mike, but you talked me back around in a circle on this one. I guess you could do incentives like that pretty frequently.
I love buying lunch for my guys, especially when they're crushing it. So I didn't do it all the time. I should have done it more. But
What's your regret?
Pizzanomics.
Pizzanomics 101.
It's my
Mike
one
for
regret in
president.
life. All right. Hey, Brush Busters. As my business grows, I'm worried about maintaining the same level of quality that got me here. I hear this all the time. I don't want to stretch myself too thin and start delivering subpar work. How do you balance growth with keeping your standards high? Ooh, tale as old as time.
Right.
I mean,
I know what word you're going to use.
You go first.
Mike's going to talk to you about systems. Well, now I was thinking about what you were going to say. So the important part for me is growing at an appropriate pace, right? There's like growth that's sustainable and manageable and supportable, right? And then there's I hired 6 salespeople and they're all booking some jobs and right? Like there's like the quote unquote shotgun approach or the blitz scale that you hear that people talk about in like Silicon Valley. We're gonna blitz scale, we're gonna own the market, and if you're trying to like rocket propelled growth, sure, maybe it'll work once in a while, but 95 to 99% of the time, that business is going to fail. But if you're consistently improving and focusing on the right people on the bus and the right systems in place and getting a little bit better every day, every week, every month, every year, then I think that's something you can build on and keep. That's the first thing that comes to my mind.
So this is a little anecdotal, but in April at our last mastermind event, our next mastermind event, by the way, is coming up in October, and we're all going to be there. All the Brush Busters are going to be there, except for Rich, unfortunately. Anyway, anecdotal, we asked the group of 30 painting contractors, are you the best painter in your business? We got a whole bunch of hands raised, but what I paid attention to is whose hands weren't raised. And it was about the 5 guys there that ran the biggest businesses. We had Graham, Tony, Archie. We had a few guys who were like 7-figure, multi-7-figure businesses. They kept their hands down. But like all the little guys who are struggling to grow, they all put up their hand. They're the best painters in their business. And I think that there's something that happens is as you become a better leader, you attract better people. And as you like increase the your vision for yourself and for your business, you're able to attract, recruit, retain, and ultimately lead better people. And only when you make that shift within yourself are you able to actually grow. Spend time on training development, spend time on hiring the right people, put in the right seats, having the right comps plan. And as you do all of these things, you're going to have painters who are better than you. And as long as you're the best painter in your crew, you're going to see faults, and that's going to keep you small because you're going to be back on the tools fixing others' work.
And you're always going to justify it. I have to go fix it. I have to do this. I have to do that. Same thing when you go to build your sales team too. I do sales myself for my business still because I can fit it in and I love it. It's my favorite part of the business. Most business owners, as they scale up, they don't do sales anymore. But if you're like, I have to be the one doing this, like I have people and interns and stuff that close deals, but I like to do it, so I do it.
I'm the only one in my business who can do it.
Really? If you're thinking that, right, that's going to limit you for sure. Or you're just going to, you're going to be constantly worried about like hiring subpar people. You're going to bring subpar people in, and then their results won't be necessarily the same. So I think that's part of it for sure. Right? How do you keep your standards high as you grow, Mike? What do you think is the key to that?
So I think keeping standards high is a combination of things. So one, and I explained this on a previous episode, it's like when I'm training my team, I'm always 10 times pickier than what is reasonable. Like when I'm doing a training project or I'm on site with them, like I will get so granularly picky with them that like it's not something that like a homeowner would ever pick on. But like one little teeny tiny speck of paint chip in like the bottom corner behind the couch on the wall, or like a little fleck of paint coming on the baseboard, like I'll go pick that up and be like, what the hell is this? Make like a huge deal of it. Like, look at, do you see that? You see that monstrosity? And they're like, oh, I didn't think that was a big, didn't think it was a big deal. And when
Going
this
to 10,
yeah.
going to 10 with the fire.
I went to a 10, yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, we do quality work here, and that's not acceptable, right? But you know that like you don't expect them to like have that level of like 100%, 150% fanaticism, whatever, when you're not there. But if you go to 130%, they're at least going to give you to like 80%, right? But if you only give them to like 80%, then they're going to be at like 50%.
So I think even more important, I agree with everything you just said. Not everyone will be like, drill sergeant like you. Everyone's going to have their style, right? But
Yeah.
like even more important, the words you said was training, right? Remember how thoroughly you trained your very first crew or your one crew that you had when you only had one crew. And if you're going to grow from one crew to 6 crews, you need to make sure that all 6 of those crews have the same level of training. That was
Even if
something
they
I
say they have
struggled.
10 years of experience.
Yes, absolutely. I don't care how many years. They could have 1,000,000 years of experience. If they're joining my team, they're going to be trained by me and operate at my standards. Whatever that looks like. Maybe if they have 10 years of experience, the training is going to look a little different. I don't have to be like, here's a caulk gun, right? But either way, the point is training. And that's one of the number one things I see when businesses scale. It was really a struggle for me when I started getting up to 6, 7, 8, 9 crews going on any given day. Like, how do you build up to that and hold that level? But also make sure that all those people are trained. Anyone who's in your business needs to be trained by somebody, whether it's you or your project manager or your one really good crew lead who's running your one really good crew right now. Whatever it is, everyone in your business has to be trained. And so if you're going to scale and you're going to grow, then you need to train all those people as they come in, or make sure that somebody trains them, whether you or somebody else. That
Even experienced painters, even subs, like everyone needs training. And I think there's like this, there's this belief that, as you grow your business, you got to be off site. And I think that as you grow your business, you got to be off the tools. But if you're on site, and you should be spending a lot of time on site, you should be developing your painters, even if they've been with you for a long time. What skills can you develop? How can you speed them up? How can you make them a little bit better quality here, a little bit better quality there, a little bit faster, more efficient? And it's like it becomes a battle of inches, right? And just like all of these micro adjustments you can make to your crew to slowly improve them one by one skill at a time. And like over medium term, like they're going to become way better.
Well, and how much more invested are they going to be when they know that people, you and other people in the organization, are like showing up for them and helping them get better, right? Like it's something that everybody talks about, but in my experience, most organizations across most industries really suck at training. Typically, in most companies, whether construction or not, right, you're going to get hired, you're going to get like a 30-minute orientation meeting, and then you're going to be kind of thrown in, and hopefully, Bob, who's been here 5 years already, will give you a little bit of the ropes and you kind of get going, right? So do you want to be like that, or do you want to be the type of company that has really high performing employees that are really bought in and that feel taken care of, right? You don't have to just give them money. You can give them time.
And it's funny because people always think like money is the only thing that employees work for. And the best employees, like, yes, money is important to pay the bills and everything, but at some level, they want to be part of something. They want to work for a great, inspiring leader. They want to be doing great things and be with an awesome team and have fun and empowered and to make decisions. Like, money's only part of it.
Well, and if everything else is the same, do you want to work for the guy who's like a total prick and doesn't really know much about you? Or do you want to work for the guy who like showed up, like helped you out and held the ladder for you in that one tricky spot and asked about your wife? And,
Sent you a text on your daughter's birthday.
Right. If people will work for less money for that person.
Mm-hmm.
Not that we're saying you should pay your people less, but like, there's been scientific studies done that like if the boss is a terrible boss, people would rather take less money to work for a good boss. And part of a good boss is like training, supporting the people, or making sure that someone else. If you're a terrible trainer, that's fine, but then you need to find someone to do the training. That's being an entrepreneur. That's a business owner. You make sure the things get done. Either you do it or you make sure the right other person does it.
And I'm going to say something that's a little bit, what's the word?
Controversial? Hot take?
Yeah, hot take.
I'm ready.
The quality that you're probably expecting of yourself is likely higher than a homeowner needs, like your average everyday homeowner. They yes, do a great job. Yes, clean things up. Yes, make straight cut lines. But like painting isn't that hard. I mean, the standard residential painting, like you're cutting, you're rolling, you're patching, you're caulking, you're vacuuming, you're whatever. I'm just looking around. Like it's not that hard. You can become passable at it in less than 2 weeks. That means that it's not that hard.
We used to teach college kids how to do it. That's all you need.
In like a week.
Yeah.
But that's why I hire for attitude, right? Some people can't be trained. But like, all of this, like, and yes, there's definitely difficult things about painting, staining, complex coatings, glass finishes, cabinets. Like there's definitely things that are challenging in terms of coating applications. But standard, cut and dry, residential, repaints, not that hard.
Realistically. One other quick thing though, as we wrap up this question, because I think this might be the last one for this episode. I don't know what you're thinking.
Yep, I think so.
If you're going to grow your business, you need to make sure you're bringing the right people onto the bus. Right. So I talked a whole lot about training. I'm like, you got to care about people. You got to train them, this and that, this and that. But also you got to make sure you're bringing the right people. If you're going to add people, right? If you're going to grow, you're going to need more people. So you need more people and more people are coming in. You need to make sure that those people are the right people. You can talk to us about interview templates, characteristics we look for in interviews, the right questions to ask, but like you or somebody else needs to take the right amount of time to vet these people. Even if it's a subcontractor, you still need to meet with them, see what their vibe is like, see, do they show up on time, right? Like there's all these things. Like you need to make sure you're bringing the right people on if you're going to grow at all. Because if you hire a bunch of people, but then you have to fire all of them, and then you're hiring again, and then you have all these half-done projects, you're not growing. You're like thinking.
One thing that I got very hung up on early on in my business development, business growth, is the thought of hiring someone on and taking a hit to bottom line in order to hire that person. So say like I'm making at the time, say I'm doing like making like 15K per month in profit, and I got to bring on someone who's 8K per month in salary. And so now all of a sudden I'm like, oh man, that's going to bring my earnings down to 7K per month. And if you stop your thinking at that point, then you'll end up like believing your own, scarcity mindset. But if it's like, hey, what is this person bringing to my company, and what is like what's going to happen 3 months, 6 months, 12 months from now, right? This is all about time horizons. It's like, oh, this person is actually, once I bring them on, like, yes, it can be 8K salary, but this is a production manager that's going to allow me to run 3 crews and get all my time back. So that means production is going to get here, sales are going to go to here, and that will enable me to get to my next level of growth. So I struggle with that, and like that, being able to get by that. And by the way, bravery is not being scared, is not getting scared. Bravery is being scared and doing it anyway.
Doing it anyway. Absolutely.
And so taking swings like that in business is the only way to get ahead, is taking a calculated risk, bringing on the right person, growing your roster, and then getting more shit done. My team at Paintergrowth is fucking awesome. I've taken big swings to bring on the team here. And payroll is a big nut every month. It's huge, well into the 6 figures every month. And it's for a mission though. We have huge plans here, and I know where we're going, and I know that the bottom line is less important than the mission that we're chasing after. So thanks for being here.
Big things. I'm stoked, brother. So stoked. It's killing me a little when I was on vacation, actually. Not so much at Burning Man, but at the wedding, I was definitely thinking about PG.
Let's jump in. We got about 7 weeks until our team retreat and then mastermind, and we're gonna have about 50 guys and girls at this mastermind. Actually, I think we're gonna have already have like 8 or 9 female owners who are gonna be there.
Nice.
This is awesome. Last time we only had one.
My wife knows more about construction than most business owners.
Yeah,
that right now.
and 3 female team members there too, right? Christine's gonna be there, Anna and Jenny. Gonna be great.
I love it.
Stoked for it. Well, dude, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, can't wait to do more.
Oh, we will do a plenty. Thanks, brother.
Scaling up the game. Big projects, friend.